City Solicitor, Mr. Griffith, again to walk us through tonight.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Mr. Anderson. Thank you again for the opportunity to address you. I just wanted to make clear procedurally what's on the agenda. The motion that is going to be under consideration is not a reconsideration of the dignity ordinance. The motion is to stay enforcement of the dignity ordinance pending action by the General Assembly. The proposed motion would be to stay the enforcement of the ordinance indefinitely, and with the city reserving the right to lift the stay upon proper notice. Procedurally, one member of council would make a motion. The motion would be couched as a motion to stay enforcement of the dignity ordinance indefinitely, and I would encourage council members, rather than debate the wisdom of the dignity ordinance, which was debated on December 14th, simply express your reasons on the record for either voting in favor of the stay or against the stay, but just making sure your reasons are clear on the record.
Okay, are there any questions for the city solicitor? Yes, sir.
Not as much of a question, but I think it's important that our wording is consistent here. Throughout this entire process, we've been attempting to work with the state and communicate with the state. I feel that needs to be notified here. That we're not, as you said, we're not ruling on the ordinance itself, but a pathway forward. This decision and other decisions should be made by representation and not in a courtroom via litigation. With that under consideration, I want to make the motion to implement a indefinite stay of the enforcement of the ordinance to be added to Chapter 8, Morals and Conduct of the City Municipal Code, Article 9, an ordinance relative to abortion to establish a process for the disposition of fetal remains from pregnant women seeking abortion within the city of Seaford.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman McCoy. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, Orlando, I'll second that motion.
Would you like to make a statement in regards to
Yes.
why?
Based on the reason for it to put a stay in place on the ordinance to allow legislation time to come to a conclusion.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote, and those who haven't had a time to make a statement, they can do so at that time. So Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Before I make my vote, I prepared a statement I'd like to read. This ordinance, in my opinion, is. Yep, I can. Can you hear that? Okay. This ordinance, in my opinion, is a complete waste of time, energy, and resources. We are having conversations around something, in my opinion, that is completely legal. I feel that this ordinance is illegal, unconstitutional, and is a violation of civil rights. I feel the stay enforcement is just a stall tactic to delay the inevitable. I feel that this ordinance is a complete overreach of government, nothing more than grandstanding and posturing. As an elected official, we must uphold our electric duties. The separation of church and state implemented by the First Amendment to the Constitution is one of them. We cannot sponsor a religion, promote religious ideas, or require individuals to practice a particular faith. With that being said, like it or not, all women have a right to choose. The Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution provides a fundamental right to privacy that protects a woman's liberty to choose, regardless of our biblical views. I feel that the City of Seaford ordinance violates that right. Once again, the state of Delaware currently has a law in place that handles fetal remains. If that law is going to change, it must happen at the appropriate levels of the General Assembly. Once again, not at a city level. In my opinion, we are setting a very bad precedent and dangerous behaviors. To quote the House Majority Leader, what happens in Seaford should not happen at the municipality level, she says. Them taking that into their own hands and making decisions is not the way that we run our government. But taking the consideration of putting this ordinance on hold and letting the General Assembly make that decision of law, it's going to save the residents of Seaford a tremendous amount of money in litigation. So with that being said, I'm not in favor of this ordinance, but I am in favor of this to allow more time for the General Assembly to make their decision.
Councilman Santos?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to vote to stay this ordinance to avoid litigation and allow room for legislation at a higher level.
Okay, thank you. So the motion to stay has passed. Again, the stay can be lifted at any time the council chooses. Again, I can't thank the council enough for the leadership to take on an issue like this where the state was unclear on their standing to do what they believe to be the right thing for our community. So with that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
You have one more item on the agenda.
What's that? Oh. The discussion of potential litigation, would you like to address that?
Yeah, I believe that issue is moot. I think if the ordinance has been stayed, I'm not sure agenda item number 2 is ripe. I think it's been resolved.
Okay. All right, if there are no other questions or comments, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilman McCoy. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Good night.